As you know, I always like to talk about topics that are kind of new or fresh, and actually there was a pretty big thing that dropped this last week. So it's about the latest plastic surgery trends, and this one's kind of interesting because it shows what people in the United States are doing to stay youthful, and what procedures are getting more popular, less popular, or are new.
Yeah.
And this is put out by the American Society of Plastic Surgeons. So the American Society of Plastic Surgeons is basically like a group that 92% of all board certified plastic surgeons are a member of. I'm in the 8%.
Oh, no.
Well, it's just kind of like it's almost like, if you go to college and you join a fraternity, right? I mean, you don't have to do that to have a good college experience. And so I just have never really been into the societies and like the pomp and the circumstance and all that. So after I got my board certification, I was like, yeah, I think I'm good. But anyway, so the ASPS is good though. I mean, they do good things. They do a lot for the field of plastic surgery. And one of the things that they do is they keep track of all of the procedures. So they get all their surgeons to submit forms of like what they're doing. And it actually is a very informative data dump that happens, and it takes them several months. So the data that we're looking at is actually the release data for 2022.
Okay.
Because it's not kept in real time right now. That's probably not too far off from happening. But this is all the data from 2022, which they all kind of correlated and put in this big document. So for 2022, there was 26.2 million surgeries and non-surgical treatments for aesthetics done in the United States.
Okay.
Now, that is a 19% increase from 2019. I think they judge it, they don't judge it year to year, they judge it like every 2 years. Yeah. So 2022 versus 2019, a 19% increase. That's pretty big. I mean, that's not insignificant. And so I want to kind of talk about what are people doing, what surgeries are more popular, what things, some of the things that we talk about, how popular are they? Because I was really interested in things like BBL. How many BBLs are actually getting done?
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, I was too. So I want to talk first about the surgeries. So when you talk about surgical procedures in the United States, there was 1.5 million surgeries done for cosmetics in the United States by board certified. Now, I think that doesn't include these people who are kind of doing it in their office and whatnot. So that number is probably actually a little bit low. So, all right, I'm going to ask you guys, and obviously, I don't expect you guys to know this, but just for fun, what do you think the most popular plastic surgery in the United States was, Sarah?
For breast augmentation.
That's a fantastic guess. Travis, do you agree with her, or do you think it's something different?
Nose job.
I mean, that's also a really good guess, Travis, because you guys are both wrong. but
Nice.
So historically in the past, like nose job used to be really high, and I was shocked that it wasn't in the top this year, and it kind of confused me. But number one this year was actually liposuction. So in the United States, there was 325,000 liposuction procedures done in 2022. That's almost 1,000 per day. That's pretty big numbers.
Yeah.
And that represents a 23% increase from 3 years ago. That's pretty sizable.
Yeah.
And so with all of these, there's always a little bit of discussion. So why is that the case? And I think COVID, I mean, it's pretty well documented that people were more sedentary during the pandemic. They weren't getting out as much.
People were bored looking at themselves in the mirror being like,
They were bored, like people were eating, they weren't going to the gym. And so I think maybe we're seeing a reflection of that. People maybe gained a little bit more weight than they wanted. And so liposuction actually was the number one procedure. You were, as I said, is a good guess because breast augmentation is number two. It's slightly less, so about 300,000 breast augmentations were done in 2022. Now, as far as the percent change, it was only about 4% increase. Yeah. So it was an increase, but it was lower. And I wonder if some of that is due to the fact that if people had a little bit more weight gain, there was less people that had less breast tissue. There's the question of the breast implant illness, which is in the news periodically, which, as I've said in the past, I don't think is a reason not to get implants. It's just one of those things that you need to talk about with your surgeon to see if it might be an issue for you.
I think that it's crazy how it's gone up 20% when in the past 2 years, like
what, plastic surgery in general or specific procedure?
Just plastic surgery in general, because that like for the past two years or more, like body positivity has been like
I think what
huge.
people say and what they do are like
I know,
two
but
different
it's like
things.
how like clothing companies are
I
like
know. Yeah.
we have sizes extra small to 4XL or something like that.
And you see it in the news these days, which in the past, of course, in the 90s, like every model in print or on TV was just like waifish. That's actually pretty funny. But yeah, it seems like what people say and what people do are different. So number 3, very popular surgery, tummy tucks. That's always going to be popular because there's just a constant supply of women having children.
Babies.
And then also people who need the massive weight loss. So that was a 37% increase. One of the highest increases of all surgeries was tummy tuck. Number 4 was pretty surprising, was breast lift without implants. So breast lift procedures, 143,000. I do tons of them. They're great surgeries for patients who have breast tissue and they just want a better shape. And you can almost even get like an implant look if you have enough tissue. Great surgeries. I love them. That was a 30% increase. And then 5th was eyelids, so blepharoplasties, 115.
I know a bunch of guys that have done that.
Really?
Yeah.
It's pretty popular. In fact,
I know too.
I did one this morning. So I did a blepharoplasty this morning. And I don't advertise for face stuff. I advertise more for the breast and body because that's like my wheelhouse. But I do face stuff. And so I did a blepharoplasty today and I did one on Monday as well.
Yeah, I know 2 guys that have done it.
Pretty crazy. So I wanted to talk about some other random surgeries because I'm not going to go through the list of 1 through 100 of all the plastic surgeries that are being done. But I wanted to throw in breast reduction surgery. 71,000. That's a pretty big number. Now that's a 54% increase. That's, I think, the biggest gainer of any surgery was breast reduction surgery, which are fantastic surgeries, by the way. If your breasts are really large, you can get that tissue removed and reshape your breast in one shot, and the patient satisfaction rate is off the charts for that.
Yeah.
People love them.
Yeah, we talked about that one time.
Yeah. Brazilian butt lift. All right, guys.
Has it gone up?
How many? Actually, no.
Good.
Yes.
It's because of us.
Maybe. But how many Brazilian butt lifts were done in 2022, Sarah? Now we're talking numbers. So the top ones were 300,000. Breast reduction was 70,000. Brazilian butt lifts, Sarah. How many?
10,000.
Oh, that's a good guess. Travis, what do you think, buddy? Think more or less than 10,000? Sarah, high or low?
I will say 50,000.
Ooh, okay. So you went higher.
Yeah.
So it's actually 28,000. So you guys are in between you two guys. I was really curious because you see tons of these on social media. There are people out there like me who are saying these are not a good idea, perhaps reconsider. So I was really curious to see how many are done. What's interesting, Sarah, and you nailed it exactly. You want to know what's the change, and really there was really no change. So they're kind of static, which is kind of a negative connotation because almost all plastic surgery procedures are on the upswing. There's a 20% increase in procedures overall, but Brazilian butt lift stayed static. The last one that I wanted to throw out there procedure-wise was implant removal. There was 37,000 of those done, 12% increase. And I actually do a fair number of that in my practice. I do.
What were they mostly?
Pardon?
What implants were they removing mostly?
So it's people who are perhaps a little bit older, maybe 50s, 60s, that got implants when they were maybe in their 20s, and maybe they got bigger implants, and then as people do, they tend to gain weight, which we're going to do a segment on that shortly, and they suddenly wake up to find that their breasts are just much larger than they want to be, and they'll come in and say, if I take out my implants and do a lift, will I look all right? And a lot of times that answer is yes. And so I do a good number of those. I probably do 1 or 2 of those per month where I'm just taking out someone's implants and then just reshaping the breast and not replacing them.
Okay.
So that'd be different than an implant. The augmentation includes when people change out their implants.
Yeah.
But the implant removal is strictly taking them out and not putting them back.
Well, apparently, like all of the Kardashians that got BBLs, they got theirs reversed like a couple of years ago, apparently.
Yeah, which is weird because that's
I mean, to me they still look abnormal down there, but.
I don't know. I've been against that from the very start. I don't know what to say about it. I do think that it'll be interesting. I assume we'll still be doing the show in a year to go back and see. Okay, for 2023, was there a change? Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is the non-invasive procedures. So everything we're talking about obviously was surgery. So we said there was 1.5 million surgeries. There was about 24 million non-invasive procedures done in the United States for aesthetics. All right, I know you guys know the number one. It's the obvious one. Come on, you hear about it all the time.
What, fillers or Botox?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
Botox. Yeah, Botox. So, and when I say Botox, I include things like Dysport, Zeman, Jeuveau. Those are the off brands. So yeah, almost 9 million people got Botox. Increase of 73% from 3 years ago. That's crazy.
I say it every time, but I literally need to call your office.
Dude, come in. I got you, Sarah. You come anytime. You too, Charles. You want Botox? I'll
yeah,
give you
can we go together?
We'll give you that
Travis?
Brotox, buddy. Not that you need it, but I mean, if you did want it.
So I will go with you, Sarah, for like moral support, but I probably am okay. At this point, I probably am okay.
Fine.
Well, if you change your mind, man, I'll hook you up.
I got you.
Fillers is next. You said fillers, and you're really close. So fillers are, and this is kind of weird, and this is where
I want to know, like, how do fillers get in your face? Like with a syringe?
Yeah, needle, inject them in.
And it's like just like a permanent liquid that.
It's not permanent. It's I wouldn't even call it
Semi-permanent,
semi-permanent.
no.
I mean, you could potentially call it semi. It depends on what you mean by semi-permanent. So most fillers, or at least the ones I use, last a little over a year. So it's like, okay, it's obviously not permanent. Would you consider?
But it like coagulates, I guess, and like.
So it's
hard,
hyaluronic acid,
yeah.
which is a compound that our body makes. It's like
Yeah,
found in our joint capsules.
I put it on my face, hyaluronic acid.
Yeah, right, yeah. So our body makes that. So that's what we use for filler because it stays in the body. It's more or less inert, meaning your body's not going to react to it, and it takes your body a long time to break it down. And there's different thicknesses of it for different areas. So about 5 million fillers were done, which is weird because they separated lip augmentation with fillers from.
Oh yeah, because I was about to ask. I was like, that has to be in your mouth. I mean,
so
your face,
yeah,
your
so the
lips.
lip augmentation fillers was 1.5 million, which is I don't know why they separated that out. I guess because that's just its own thing.
Where is like the other popular place to get fillers on your face?
Okay, that's a great question. So some of those popular places to get fillers are ones for the cheek. So people in my age bracket, as we hit middle age, the mid face starts to fall. And that's where you'll start to get these creases right here, these nasolabial folds. And so by plumping up your cheeks, it will, one, give you that more youthful kind of high cheekbone look that everyone really likes. Like that's actually a really popular one. And also it eases this crease here. You can also inject the filler right into this crease to soften it up.
Okay.
These nasolabial folds. Marionette lines are a big one right here.
Okay.
So those are the three most popular places that people will do fillers outside of the lips. The lips is the other one, and like I said, they separated that one out. And the last one, and Travis, will you throw up that second slide for me, sir? Yeah, so if anybody wants to see the minimally invasive procedure list, this is it. I didn't do the surgery one because it was really convoluted and it was kind of hard to follow. But this one, for anybody out there that wants to just kind of take a snapshot of it, shows what people are doing as far as the non-invasive treatments. And actually, it's very kind of interesting. Like things like, cool sculpting are still on there, but the numbers are way down. So for example,
what does cool sculpting help with? Is that like for cellulite
for fat
and stuff?
removal, like non-invasive fat removal.
So like you could do it like on your stomach?
Yep.
Or?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, we did a segment on it, but I think we did that right before you came, which we may need to revisit that. What was interesting though is 6.2 million laser and skin resurfacing procedures. That's a big number, and I've talked about the laser that we have all the time because I absolutely love our laser, and I was very not surprised to see that the laser is really trending right now. I mean, there's almost as many laser and skin resurfacing procedures done. Well, there's actually the same number as fillers and almost as many as Botox. Like that's big numbers, and it's a testament to that. Those procedures are actually really good. And it's weird for me, a plastic surgeon, saying, maybe don't consider surgery. But I mean, I oftentimes when people come into my office, especially if they're more kind of middle age as opposed to older, will say, maybe forget surgery and go for.
It seems like it's just like a more like natural way to get results, kind of.
Yeah, I mean it is because it's not.
That's something that's
you don't
not
look
like
artificial
super,
with it.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, Sarah, if you have a good plastic surgeon, you should never look artificial. I mean, unless you specifically asked for it.
Yes.
But I know what you're talking about with facelifts. Sometimes people get these facelifts, and
and then sometimes I talk about them all the time. But when I was there, because they had a new episode, the Kardashians, like when they talk, their face does not move.
Yeah, they got lots of fillers going on. I mean, it's
their
just
mouth, they have
it's like filler overload and Botox overload.
It just looks like they're like a fake
you
person
don't
and
have
their
to
mouth
look like
was just
that.
moving.
I mean, there's doing nothing and there's the Kardashians, and then there's this big gulf of in between where you can actually look nice.
But I think that's what people expect if they get Botox, or
you're so right, because I've had so many people.
They're going to look like that.
I've had so many people come into my office and say something about fillers, and I don't want to get fillers because it makes you look bad. I'm like, no, it really doesn't. If you do it correctly, no one will know that you have them. Like, no one will know you have them. You'll just look younger.
Yeah, I think on one of the episodes, I think Kylie had literally just gotten like her lip refilled, and like, she looked like
someone punched
like
her.
somebody, like especially from the side when she was like she was talking to somebody, and it was like
it
like her lip was just like up here.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
They look pretty frightening for a time frame after you get them. Yeah, your lips can definitely swell. So anyway, those are the latest trends for plastic surgery. It's really interesting stuff. It tells you what people are out there doing. If you have questions about that list, please leave us a comment. I would love to answer any questions you have about what people are out there doing to make themselves look better. So.